Not the streams.
All right, welcome everyone. So got at least one. We got one person on. I think it's probably Rory. So hi, Rory. And so
Which one?
yeah, somebody's iPhone is on. I believe that's. But maybe Cole was going to be out today too, so it could be Cole as well.
Cole was out in science class too.
This is just labeled iPhone. So
Yeah, it's Cole.
okay, I hear Cole on the other end. So hey, Cole.
I
don't have any.
All right. Let us then start by, I'll pass out some stuff after I take roll. Hopefully at this point you've all seen your grades for the exam on yep.
I have a concern with that. You gave me 100, and I know I did not get 100.
Well, it's because some of them were extra credit.
I know I got at least one of the extra credit wrong.
Yeah, I think. Well, so if you got I also applied a one question curve because at the time when I first graded them, the highest score would have been a 98. And so that was a 2%, basically a 2% boost. In some of your cases, a 3% because I round up, and each point was worth 2.5. But then they were actually both of the take-home exams. When I got them back, they were they kind of negated the need for the curve. Let's just say it that way. And so, you know, overall the class didn't need a curve, but he got one anyway, so hooray. Okay, favorite kind of sandwich? Let's go in reverse order. Can we start with Sarah?
I don't know.
Okay.
I guess ham. It's the only thing I can think of.
And Rory's absent. Moment of silence for Rory. And Miles.
Just because it's in my mind now, the Publix chicken tender stuff.
Nice.
Well, not just
Mary
any
Kate
stuff,
then.
that stuff.
I've only had this like once in my life, but banana Nutella. It sounds strange.
There's a lot of things you can do with banana that are really good that I've recently discovered.
And Nutella.
For example, oh, that too, yes. But if you took that and then you got like roasted pumpkin seeds and rolled it in the pumpkin seeds, it'd be even better. But I do that with peanut butter. There's something called tahini, which is just ground up sesame seeds. It's really good on a frozen banana.
Some people like freeze sliced bananas and dip them in chocolate. Those are
Yeah.
really
We
good.
need to come out with
James.
My favorite sandwich. I don't really know. I guess just peanut butter and jelly. I guess.
Can't go wrong with that one. Ian.
I don't particularly care for eating dishes, whether from deserts or not.
All right. So, because that would be cannibalism, I guess. Dylan.
Probably say like Popeyes chicken sandwich.
Never had a Popeyes chicken sandwich.
I heard that's like amazing.
I've never had Popeyes.
Yeah, it's not. It's way too
I've
hyped up,
never
but
had
it's so
Popeyes.
good.
It's really good.
It is.
It's better than
I hate
It's better than
Popeyes.
Chick-fil-A's normal sandwich.
I hate
Chick-fil-A's grilled.
The spicy
Cole.
chicken sandwich.
Cole is, hey Cole, you know, you're supposed to just kind of be listening in general, but do you want to tell us your favorite sandwich?
It's like a peanut butter, honey, and banana sandwich from Tropical Smoothie.
Nice. All right.
I've only had Popeyes.
And Daniel.
I think it's one of the kids.
Probably Pub Sub
Nice.
because they can't go wrong.
Bo.
The Nuke's Grilled Chicken Bacon Club.
Does sound good. And Arrow.
It's got honey mustard on it.
I like. There's a wait. What's the name of that one? Like spicy, put on chicken on it. Pesto. There's a pesto chicken sandwich at Tropical Smoothie.
That sounds good. All right. And Anya.
I don't know. I kind of just like to eat whatever. But I would say the Popeye chicken sandwich is pretty good.
Okay. So I'll pass your stuff back. And those are lab reports. That's not what I want. There was definitely like, you know, like a very even distribution of grades. Before I added the 2% curve, there were a whole bunch of people that were a letter grade below. what this is. So without the 2 to 2.5% curve, depending on whether or not your score required rounding, either 2 or 3%. But anyway, I think the first time through, which didn't have 2 of them, it was like 2 A's, 2 B's, 2 C's, 2 D's, and 2 F's or something like that. And then now it's like 4 A's, maybe 5. I think now it's 5 A's. With the curve in them with the 2 other people who took theirs at home, emailed them in. So yeah, it's a very even distribution. And so there was one question that got missed a lot. And actually part of the reason I did the curve was because everybody missed it until the online submissions. And that was the one about what part is a syllogism out of the Socrates is a man, all men are mortal, therefore Socrates is immortal. The entire thing is the syllogism. It's not just the therefore. And each of the statements, not including the therefore, is a proposition. And the terms.
We actually went over that in class almost directly after the test.
And we also did it twice before. Hard to get it wrong, especially
because we went over it, that's how I knew that I'd gotten something wrong.
There was something you got 110%, which probably means I was too generous, but I don't know. Well done to that person especially.
Yeah.
With the curve, the absolute maximum you could have gotten was 112 or 113 if I rounded. So. Cole, I was thinking about showing you yours, but then I realized that anybody who replays this video afterward will see your grades. So you can just look yours up online for now. Okay. Any questions from this logic exam? Anything we should go over? I'm going to look through as well, see if I find anything I want to point out. I gave a little bit of leeway on the univocal and equivocal and I'm blanking, analogous terms. So for example, there were people who used blue, like for example, the color blue is my least favorite color. You look blue today. That was actually Cole's. Some people use that as equivocal and some people use it as analogous. And I give you credit either way. Personally, I kind of think it's more analogous, but I had said in class, like, what if there is like psychologically some kind of an intrinsic link between the color blue and sadness, in which case it would be more, more links together and that would kind of change the answer. But did I say analogous? I didn't mean analogous, I meant equivocal. I'd say those two are more equivocal because they just don't seem to be like really related. But I left room for the possibility that they are on some level that I'm not aware of. So, so I give you credit on that. I don't think a single person, except maybe one of you spelled Porphyrion correctly. So almost everybody missed that question because of the spelling. Who spelled it correctly? Yeah.
I was able to get it on like all
I got it right.
exercises and all the videos. I was there, right?
I gave up. I didn't look now.
I just wrote it down.
I've wrote it down like
10 times.
And Arrow was right. There were some places where, like, if you look at the questions, it might help you to do the matching, to fill in the blank. As a test-taking skill in general, I mean, maybe some of you feel conscience-stricken about guessing if you don't know an answer. But when you take the SAT or anything like that, think about it this way. The entire nation is guessing. And so if you don't guess, then you're kind of giving yourself a disadvantage in a competitive test. And you're expected to guess. So I don't think it's anything like immoral to guess an answer. So if you have a 50-50 or anything like that, take a guess, you'll probably get it right. Yes.
Why do they want you to guess?
Well, I mean, it's just anytime you have multiple choice, then everybody, whether they want you to or not, everybody kind of will, because you have a choice. You have a 1 out of 4 chance of getting the right answer. And so, but anyway, just it's good to be comfortable guessing for when you have to take standardized tests. I certainly won't be mad at you if you do. And also, if you you don't have to write a question mark next to it if you do guess. A lot of people do that. I don't know why. Yes.
Before the test, I was thinking we're gonna have to write out the entire Porphyrian tree.
Oh no.
Like each thing. I was stressing about it, and I was like, oh crap.
Yeah. That's the kind of thing where, like, I would have wanted to give you a study guide if it was going to be that hard. Sorry, I never got around to doing the terms. I never promised them. I specifically didn't promise them. I said I would get to them if I had time. I didn't even come close to having time. So it's been a very busy 2-3 weeks. What else? Okay, I want to go over these again. The true falses, the first three. The purpose of formal logic is to discover truth. True or false? Yeah, so that's going to be more of the focus of another kind of logic. What's that kind?
Material.
And so, but what are we actually trying to find in formal logic? It's not really the truth of the argument, it's the validity. Very good. Yes, it's going to be the structure, which is about the validity. And a statement can be true or false. What's another word for a statement?
Term.
Not a term.
Proposition.
A proposition, yes. So can a proposition be true or false?
Yes.
Yeah. So for example, I don't know, all cats are mammals is true. But if I say all cats are time travelers, that is false. That would be an example of a statement or proposition being true or false. And can an argument, and actually this is one that's not on there, but could a proposition / statement be valid or invalid? No, because that's just one statement. But for something to be valid or invalid, it needs to be an argument. Like all cats are time travelers, something else, therefore something else. So can an argument be true or false?
No.
No, it's going to be valid or invalid. And if an argument is sound, then does that mean what does that actually mean?
It'll be valid as well as the proposition's true.
Good. So the argument will be valid and its propositions will be true. And if that's the case, then you can say the whole argument is sound. All right.
Because when you think sound, like the first thing that comes to mind is like true and valid.
Yeah.
But when you have to remember that true isn't the whole argument, it applies to them.
Yeah, it just applies to the propositions. And you can say the entire thing is sound, but that's because some parts of it are true and another part is valid. Or I guess the whole thing overall is kind of valid, but because it's all sort of part of the syllogism. Real quick, and just volunteer correct answers, like ones that I marked as correct. What are some examples of univocal terms?
Biology.
Okay, biology, that's good.
Photosynthesis.
Photosynthesis, yep. A few of you said that one.
I wrote the second law of thermodynamics.
Yeah, good. Second law of thermodynamics. That one definitely. Biology I had to think about, like, is there any way I could kind of construe that, analogously or equivocally? There was one of yours, I gave you credit for it because it was a good answer, but I think someone said chemistry, right? Maybe. But I showed a way that chemistry could be used analogously, which was like the chemistry between two people, like how well they get along. And I would say that's probably analogous, not equivocal, because, well, if you agree with me, defend my answer. Why would it be analogous, not equivocal?
Because they're related.
Yeah. And can you explain that a little further?
Like chemistry is like showing how the things work together, and it's like two people who work together.
Exactly. Very good. So, yeah, you pour two chemicals together and they're going to have a certain relationship. They might combust or they might not. People can be similar, and therefore you can talk about their chemistry. I've always thought, some people do like the marriage sand when, at their weddings, like they each have like a different color sand, or like unity sand. That's what they call it. And they'll have a jar and they'll both pour their sand into it. And the idea is that, you can't extract one type of sand from the other fully because it's all just intermingled as tiny little grains now. I thought how great it would be as a prank to replace their unity sands with combustive chemicals, and then they pour them together and it explodes. be a bad omen for sure. So
You have to be someone really close to them to be able to pull that off,
yeah.
but then also like be willing to do
Mhm.
something.
Take the blame.
I would totally do that.
Now,
Yeah, no question.
Or like take the time to just separate every single thing.
Or just make one set of the grains magnetic and put a magnet next to it.
yeah,
They
just
all
make it,
come out.
yeah, it's like no please.
And then you can't extract it.
I have reservations. What about your equivocal terms? What were some of your equivocal terms that were marked correct?
Post.
Okay, I liked that one a lot. Yeah, can you read that one to me? Your whole answer?
So I had Mr. Smith published a post on Twitter, mainly because, yeah. And then Mr. Smith dug a hole for the first post of his fence.
Very good. And let's get two other examples. Somebody else?
Band.
Okay, band, go ahead.
The band played beautifully and the rubber band stretched.
Great. So those are definitely equivocal, right? Because there's no relationship in meaning between the two. Third volunteer? Both.
Wait. I had window. Does that count? Yeah, I had window because,
That was probably going to be analogous, depending on if you use the
Right.
book's example.
and I also used blue, but we already heard blue, so I guess I'll.
That's all right. Anybody else? Go for it,
I
Dylan.
didn't write this down, but you just say like date, because it's like.
Yeah.
The fruit.
Yeah.
You know, relationship date.
Yes, perfect. And
Isn't it called a date because that's the date that they planned it to happen?
well, we're talking about a fruit.
I thought he said relationship.
Well, like,
Both.
there's
Yeah,
a-
and
a
fruits.
fruit.
Yeah. So that's a good point. You can also make it analogous because you could say like a date on the calendar or going on a date with someone. Like those would probably be analogous because you do plan it, you know, for a certain date.
Big brain moment.
But the
Good
fruit
job, though.
and going on a date, those are two totally different things.
That was one
So,
question
very
ahead of us.
Mhm.
That was one question ahead of us.
Oh, yeah. Yes. So then let's get 3 examples of analogous. Go for it.
Window.
Yes.
I said, look out that window and we have a window of opportunity.
Good. They are related in meaning. Yes.
Call.
Call. Go ahead.
I gave you a call on the phone. I gave a call to the other football players.
Yeah, good. So, and those are very similar. They're not exactly the same, but they're similar, like very similar. What else?
Fall.
Fall. Okay.
Like, be careful you don't fall and then the falls crashed into the water.
Very good. Yes. So yeah, waterfall. I mean, it's different from falling, but are the meanings related?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah, waterfall's kind of just a description. All right. Some of you missed on the coal is a non-living material substance. Plant is a non-sentient living material substance. Does coal or plant have more notes? And I think some of you said like no. And, but which I guess meant that you meant like an equal number. If somebody wrote yes, I would have been kind of, you know, maybe annoyed by that. That's not a complete answer if you say yes.
Yes.
It's like, which one? But
Yes.
anyway, so yeah, the notes are just the different qualities in the Porphyrian tree. So if plant is non-sentient, living, and material, how many notes is that?
3.
Yes. Good job counting my fingers. And if coal is just non-living and material substance, then that's just 2. So yeah, plant has more. And
I
I think
said they had the same ones because I thought material was before that. So I thought if one thing was non-living and there was another that was living, but they would still have the same notes, right? If they just ended at living.
if well, so if you have yeah, they just ended there, but they're
That's
I think
what I
it'll always
thought.
go farther. That's the thing. So like for example, in the case of plant, it's non-sentient. So yeah, the thing is non-living just stops. But then if you do living, then you have to do the next category until you basically go until you stop, until you run into a dead end. Okay, with that, everyone ready to jump into the new stuff? Okay, so here's where the class I think gets a lot more interesting.
Because didn't we have to read the proposition?
Yeah, and now, and so you were out with that for class when we talked about that. Now we are on to different types of propositions.
Okay.
Sure. So chapter 5, and just an update on Zooming. Obviously, Cole knows this because he's Zooming successfully. But for the past, 4 weeks or so, I haven't been able to get into our Zoom rooms using the links. And so what I've been doing is I've just been recording class, and every time someone's been absent, I've simply emailed you the link to the recording of class, and I've also been posting the links on the lesson plans. At this point, those are all, they're all unlisted videos on YouTube. So if you've been just like finding them on my channel, you won't be able to find them on my channel anymore. You'll have to go into the Praxis School lesson plans. So when you go into your student portal and look for the homework, check the date range going back to whatever class you missed. And I personally, my advice with Praxis School for the assignments, for finding your homework and everything, I just keep it permanently on the first day of school, like August 18th through the last day of the semester. And then I just scroll, because that way there's no risk for ever like missing something or forgetting something. You know, it's always all going to be visible. So that's how I've been doing it personally. But, you know, you can keep adjusting your dates if you want, but I do know that people have like not seen assignments because they forgot to adjust their dates and things like that in different classes. So anyway, that should, when you're looking at your homework, it should display two things: your homework assignments and your lesson plans. And so for my classes, I have a lesson plan also visible, and the lesson plan, like for today's lesson plan, currently it just says like going over chapter 5 or something like that. But by 5 p.m. roughly, or earlier, at the end of each school day, I'm taking the video of class, whether I Zoom or not, uploading it to YouTube as an unlisted video, and then I'm pasting a link that you can use, even though it's unlisted, to get to the video on your lesson plan. So if you look at your homework in for today, then it'll show a lesson plan, and it'll have a link that says video of today's class. And so you can go back and rewatch anything that you miss, or just anything you want to rewatch. The nice thing about YouTube is you can adjust the playback settings and do things on double speed. So you can make up for 5 weeks of class in 2.5 hours or less. Yeah.
Also for YouTube live streams, you can join halfway in and go back to the beginning.
Nice.
While like other things, you have to wait till the whole end of the thing, and then or join halfway in.
Yeah, and we're using Zoom, so I can't do that, but that is good to know. What's that?
I think you can record Zoom.
Yeah, that's how we're doing the recordings now.
Yeah.
I've been doing it locally when Zoom wasn't working for me, but the other thing I was going to say is that with Zoom, if you ever need to get into Zoom, don't, you may not have success with the link that we sent you guys for the classrooms. The links may not work, but the codes to the classes will. And that's how I'm doing it now. So today I didn't get in using the link. I got in by going onto Zoom, like just zoom.com, making sure I was logged in, and clicking on join meeting. And then each classroom has its own code, and the code is always going to be all lowercase, one word, the name of the classroom. So I would write this down. If you are ever not in this class, just join meeting and type in "We Worship," because that's the name of this room. WEE, worship. I want to make it like WII, like the. There's so.
Dun, 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 dun. Now I'm just thinking of the Me channel.
What I'm thinking of is a karaoke video where a Korean guy is singing "Jesus Take the Wheel," but it sounds like he says "Jesus Take the Wheel," and like there was an old version where like they wrote captions of what it sounds like he's saying, and it was like CHESUS and take the WII. But,
YouTube subtitles are terrible.
But this was somebody going in and writing what it sounded like he was saying.
When they did manually, they're fine. But then when they did like automatically, forget.
Unfortunately, some of that guy's videos are like he missings lyrics in ways that make them inappropriate. So, but that one was okay. Jesus take the week. All right. So we're going to jump into different types of propositions. There's a total of 4 types, and I'm going to make a chart. There are additional types, but we're going to go over 4. And I'm also going to introduce a fourth part of a syllogism that we haven't done yet. Yes.
I use nothing.
Sure. So we call these the four statements of logic. Or you could say the four categorical statements. I filled up the whole board. And I'll give examples, and then I'll draw a diagram. So the first thing I'm going to do is just give some examples. The first one is A, the A statement. And this is going to be one that uses all. So if I say, you know, all men are mortal, what I'm actually doing, we've talked about how you have a subject and a predicate and a copula, right? Okay, all men are mortal. Actually, I can put this over here. All right, give me the subject.
Man.
Good. So what is the subject? How would we define it?
Subject term.
Yes, and?
Who or what is doing the action?
Good, yeah. Basically, who's doing the verb is one way to think about it. And I say verb instead of action because you might have a being verb, and in the case of logical statements, you always do. When it's in logical form, it's always a being verb. So remember how last lesson we did like the sentence like a little red-haired boy screams loudly? Remember how in order to put it in logical form, we had to rearrange the proposition and rewrite it? What did we get, roughly?
The little boy was a person and he screamed loudly.
Yes, something like that. Like a little boy is a person who screams loudly. And so we have to rearrange it to a subject, a being verb, and then the predicate. So what do we call this being verb? The thing that links or does not link it. Yeah, the copula. So we have a subject here. I should probably color code this. And then what do we call mortal, the thing that he equals? Predicate. Very good. Gotta go use orange. All right, all men are mortal. Now, before we've used all men as our subject, right? But now we can be a little bit more specific about what all is. It's part of the subject. You know, it's part of, it's an adjective. It's modifying the subject, men, but we have a more specific name for it. And that name is going to be the quantifier. Each of these four statements will have a different quantifier, and that's the thing that separates them. So there's an A, which is going to have the quantifier all. The next one is an I. And that's going to have the quantifier some. So give me a true proposition that we use some. Some something is something.
Some men are mortal.
Good. Let's say some men are, give me something that only some men are.
Tall.
Good. I figured that would be the first one people would say. I don't know why, but I guessed correctly somehow. Some men are mortal. Okay, label the parts for me.
And the subject are cupola and tall is predicate.
Okay. So I'll start with the copula because I think that's kind of the. Whenever I'm doing sentences in a language, I always start with a verb, especially if it's Latin. That's really important. You said the predicate is tall. Okay. Someone else, even though I think you said all of them. What is the subject?
Men.
Men, good. And what is some?
Quantifier.
Quantifier, good. Okay. Now, next one. We have an A, we have an I, then we have an E. There is some logic to why these letters are there. This one is going to be no. So give me one that maybe no men are something.
No men or women.
Okay. So
If I want to be.
It's 2020, bro. Are you assuming my gender?
Yes, I am.
So no men or women. Let's walk through this again. So this gets a little bit more, well, actually not this one. The next one gets a little bit more complicated, but this one's not. So let's say, what is our quantifier?
No.
Yep.
Could this be a qualifier? Quantifier? The
Um,
word this.
oh, right. Like this man is a woman. So that's a,
This man is gay.
but,
You said that so fast.
yeah, it's because I didn't think about what I was saying. I was only thinking about how it works. So when you do that, that's going to be like saying Socrates is a man. All right. You're referring to an individual, and when you refer to an individual, I was going to get to this later, but it's assumed that you're using a, the quantifier all. It's like saying all Socrates is mortal, or something like that.
Socrates is.
Yeah. But in the case of like if I say this Socrates is mortal, it's kind of like saying all this Socrates is mortal. You treat it the same way as an all statement later on. So very good question.
Good job.
So for the quantifier, it doesn't have to be just something that's quantity, right? Like it could be like black dogs are big or something like that.
Yeah, if you say something like, if you say black dogs are big, this gets into the same realm of what I was putting off. If you say black dogs are big, do you think that the speaker is intending that to say that some black dogs are big or all black dogs are big? Yeah, so usually you assume if somebody just says something with no quantifier, and we've had that, you know, in a lot of our propositions so far, I think, where there was no quantifier, like a little red-haired boy is a person who screams loudly. There was no quantifier, it was just a little red-haired boy, but we would treat it like an A. And if you say black dogs are loud, then the result is you just assume that it's all black dogs, unless there's a strong reason to do so. So they give an example in the book. You could say, I don't know, men are rational.
You're very irrational.
But, or men have, you know, men are capable of reason. How about that? Would that probably refer to all men?
No.
Well, I mean, just not assessing whether or not you think it's true or false, but just like the proposition itself. Let's take something that would definitely come across as true, just to alleviate the confusion. Men are sentient. We all agree with that, right? We all have senses. We're all aware of ourselves.
Sure.
Yeah, so would you assume if I say men are sentient that that is an A statement?
Yes.
But if I say men have gone to the North Pole, would you assume that it's an A statement?
No.
What would you assume? Yeah, it's going to be an I. So you can just use your discernment, but generally speaking, when there's no quantifier, you just kind of assume it's an all statement. And if it's referring to an individual or a this, something like that, then you treat it like an a statement. Okay, last one. This one is O. And this is going to be some not. Okay? If you say, give me a some something or not something.
Some men are not tall.
Good. Some men are not tall. Okay. And that's actually interesting. Can an I statement and an O statement be true at the same time?
Yes.
Yeah, some men are tall and some men are not tall. We'll get into a lot of stuff like that later, figuring out what combinations of statements can be true. So this is a tough quantifier. Tell me what the quantifier is.
Some.
Some.
No.
But wouldn't that make it an I?
Yeah, it's not.
So it'll be some not. Here's where the color coding really comes in handy. Let me just ask you this. If I said, instead of no men are women, if I said men are not women, how do you explain that one? Quantifier wise. And which of the letters would be? Yeah, so you treat it like an A because you don't say, you treat it like there's all there. But here's the thing. If I say all men are not women, then if I say that, is it actually like an affirmative, all men are women? It's actually all men are not women.
Would not women be the predicate?
So not is going to be kind of built into how we're reading the quantifier. I'll get to this in a moment. Think about that, and then in a moment we'll get to it. All right, so no men are women. I'm sorry, we're on some men are not tall. That's what we're on. I didn't finish doing the subject on these, but that's probably fine. I think you get it. Subject. And we got our copula. Our and we have our predicate, women and tall. Okay. Now I'm going to make a chart that kind of will help understand, or help you understand what I was talking about with rearranging the sentence to all men are not women. If I do that, we have to ask, like, what are the qualities of that statement? And here's what I mean. I'm going to map this out. I think I'll just keep using pink. I tend not to use pink, and then they end up being my strongest markers, and I have to use them up. So, okay. It's kind of funny. Isaac's favorite colors right now are orange, pink, and purple.
Right now.
Yeah.
It's always changing.
He likes purple the best. But
Hey,
he's out of
purple's my
pink and
favorite
orange.
color.
Purple's a good color.
I remember when I was a kid, I liked purple and red,
Purple's
but definitely not my favorites now.
my favorite two colors together are purple and gold. I think they just look real nice.
Yeah, it's contrasting.
Okay, JCL person.
Not just JCL. I've liked it before that. Like, I think a purple car with gold trim would look really good. Yeah.
Purple
Blue
lamp,
car with purple trim would look
except
better.
you can't see them at night.
Or can you?
I have another question.
Unless it's lit up.
But it's a car, so it's gonna have reflective.
At night, trust me as someone who's been driving for over a year now. At night, if someone does not have their headlight on and their car paint is dark, you will not see them coming.
Legally, there's those kind of.
Yes, we'll all
You're
be-
assuming the worst of humanity.
If you don't have
Technically, you
your
can't see
headlight
dark
on,
colors.
Now, take a look at this.
Not getting enough.
Yes, you can.
Get back to the way.
I
Back to
can.
what?
Okay, so what I'm doing is I am, remember how we said that propositions, they're either going to affirm or deny something? What does it mean to affirm?
To tell the truth.
The opposite of deny.
Yeah, that's true. Good inference there.
Deny.
If somebody wants to look up the definition of affirm on your phone, I'll let you do that.
Wait,
It's being right or something.
To validate it.
It is a judgment. Yes, that's a good
And it
point.
was
Yes,
a- it was
and
like
to
a-
validate, I like that. That's good. So when you're affirming something, you're basically agreeing with it. What do you have?
To state as a fact, assert strongly and publicly.
Mhm.
Siri, stop. Okay. Declare one's support for, uphold, defend, accept or confirm the validity of a judgment or agreement, ratify.
Very good, thank you. So it has to do with basically stating as a fact and supporting, as if you agree with it. So when an argument is affirming something, that's when it's going to say something is / some things are, right? So basically it's where you would have a big equal sign in your, I'll just do it like this. So which of these two are affirmative?
A and E, or A and I.
A and I, good. So the ones that are, they're affirmative. Which ones are negative, the opposite? Yep. I thought you were saying when you said So,
Yeah, no.
oh, I didn't mean to do that. They do not equal. There we go. All right, so a quantifier is going to give you 2 bits of information. It's going to give you the proposition's quality, which is whether it affirms or negates, whether it's affirmative or negative. It's basically if you're saying yes or no to a statement. Like, if you say all men are mortal, then you're saying yes, they are mortal. But if you're saying all men are, if you say like no men are mortal, then you're saying no, they're not. But then there's a question of not only if it's affirmative or negative. So we know that the 2 affirmatives are A and I. But now we need to get into the question of which one is universal and which one is particular. So universal means if you have the category of men. Universal means all of these men, the whole circle is included. But then particular would mean some of that circle is included. So it's actually, even just the way I said that, it's pretty easy to tell which one is the universal and which one is the particular. So out of A and I, which one's universal affirmative and which one is particular affirmative?
A is universal.
Very good. So A is universal affirmative, and then I is particular affirmative. Let's do it with the E and the O real quick, and then I'll get your question. So,
Thinking you're
Sure.
saying,
what's that?
you keep saying E and O and I keep
Yeah.
hearing my name.
Yeah. So, which one is going to be the universal? Like, which one is a statement about all men, and which one is a statement about less than this entire circle of men?
E is universal.
Yep.
And O is particular.
Very good. So remember how I was saying, like, if you said, like, men are not women. If you say that, then how you would kind of treat that as like universal, basically. We were saying treating it like all, but that's because before, just now you didn't have the language to say what it is more precisely. It's that if I say no men are women, then that's a universal statement. If I say all men are not women, that's the same thing. Either way, what I'm doing is I'm making a statement that is applying to all of the subject, and it is negative in nature. So it would go right there. But for the sake of simplicity, we can rearrange our sentences, put them in logical form so that they actually just say no blank are blank. And then you don't have to worry about telling the difference. But you can see, though, it's important for everyday conversation. If somebody says all something are not something, you can recognize this actually an E statement. Make sense? All right. Questions at this point? I think that might be most of what we needed to cover today, and I haven't consulted my notes, so let me.
So did you go back to the all men are not immortal? Did you go back to that at all?
Yeah. So if you say all men are not mortal, that would be just a different way of saying an E statement.
Yeah. That's what I was
Yeah.
Should you check our homework?
I will, but I'm going to give you an activity first.
Jumping jacks.
Yes. So anyway, think of the quantifier as a fourth part of a proposition. And what are our quantifiers again?
All, some, no, it's some not.
Very good. And if you have, out of those, what are the different qualities and quantities involved in those quantifiers?
What?
What are the qualities and quantities that are conveyed by those quantifiers? Like if I say A, it is what and what in terms of quality and quantity? Like A would be universal, meaning applying to all of the group of the subject. And then it would be affirmative, meaning that you are making a yes statement. As opposed to a universal negative, which would mean none of the group is, or all of the group is not. Would be another way to think about it, but not the way we typically word it. And then we have the particulars, which are the ones involving some. Some are is affirmative, some not is negative. All right, and finally, I'm just going to review this. We talked about singular, what we call singular statements. So you can write that down, singular statements. That's when the subject term indicated is an individual. So that would be, this man is mortal, or Socrates is a man. So, and when that happens, here's how we would apply it. If I say, this man is my subject, just take whatever your subject is. It doesn't really matter what your subject is. Take that subject and put it in a circle. And then, if you say, this man is mortal, would you mean all of this man is mortal?
Yeah.
Yes. Or if I say Socrates, would I be saying that all of Socrates is mortal if I say Socrates is mortal?
Yes.
Yeah. But if I say some of this man is mortal, maybe it's like Achilles where he was dipped in the river and, except for his heels. And so everything except for his heels was immortal. I think that's basically how it went, right?
Oh yeah, he was being held by his heel, and so he gets it.
And or like if I say like some of this man is mortal, or some of this man is not mortal, or I could say like some of Socrates is, I don't know what, but anyway, you get the idea. Like you would have to actually throw in a sum, otherwise it would just seem like you're referring to all of it. But then, like I said, if there are situations where it just clearly seems like it's not referring to all, like men have gone to the North Pole, that's not referring to all men. That's going to be some.
Because I haven't been to the North Pole,
Mhm.
so I know that not all men.
Yeah. Okay, so that's what you need to know for singulars. And what I'd like you to do now is, as I check your homework, I'd like you to come up with, you can do this in pairs, come up with examples of all four statements. And as a bonus, come up with a singular where you would assume that where you would assume that it's an A statement, and come up with a singular where you would assume it's an I statement. In fact, you could come up with singulars where you'd assume it's an E or an O if you want, but anyway, like at least an affirmative singular and a negative singular. And the singulars again would be like this man or Socrates or something like that, or it's referring to an individual. But okay.
Great job.
All right. Oh, nice. Okay, so I can check Cole's work. I'll start with that. Get out your homework too.
Coming up with
Each of the four statements, and then as a bonus, come up with individual statements like Socrates is or something or other, where it would be like either universal or particular.
Do you want us to have the quantifiers implied or
Forgot
say
to add this.
Either way.
All men.
You did add this slide.
Okay. Go back to the first page again. Scroll down. Okay.
I know. I know. With all our parents.
Okay.
It's true though.
All men are human. Is that true?
Yeah.
No, wait. Human.
No,
men
some
are
men are dogs.
human. Some men are
Yeah.
dogs.
Okay.
Who is- who
Just
are
say
they?
human. Just say
All men
human.
are animals.
All men are
Okay.
human.
And it was kind of hard to tell. Did you grade it? I thought I saw something like scratched out and corrected. Yeah, there we go. Okay.
What?
So,
Very good.
Thank you.
so with
I got SAP.
A, all dogs are dead.
What?
Like,
Well, that's true. All dogs are
All
dead.
cats, should they have to be
Yeah.
true?
All cats should be dead.
Do they have to be true?
Thank you.
No.
Some men are
Wait, is
tall.
that okay?
Well, actually,
Um,
how about we say
some
yes? How about we say
some
yes just to make it a
cats-
little bit harder?
Yeah,
Some
'cause
say some
Because
cats
otherwise it's
are,
pretty easy.
Some
Right, dogs are dead.
are
are mean.
All four.
Oh yeah.
Most cats are mean.
Some dogs are
But
dead.
just
Did you say all dogs are
Um,
gay? That's what I heard.
No, I said dead.
No
Oh,
men.
him. I heard you say.
No men are nice.
No men are.
No.
No cats are dogs.
Make it room.
No cats are dogs.
Oh, sorry. My lip.
No, I think we should no men. No men are
Some
nice.
people think you could get a fake.
I'll come back.
Here.
Oh, good.
A fake teeth.
This is what.
Chapter 4.
Oh, do you need chapter 5?
We already did all dogs are dead.
No, my mom's gonna
Okay,
do that for
all
you.
dogs are animals.
Yeah, cool, but I'm not sure where she.
Were.
I asked her should we bring it here, but she said no.
We have one time where no one.
Pollution.
Okay, so how do okay, no men are nice.
No,
Okay.
no cats are dogs.
Nice, yeah.
Okay, so all dogs.
My mom would sign it,
I
but she
went
left
over
before I could tell her to sign it, but we didn't together.
That's okay.
True.
Thank you.
Some
So
dogs
all, no
Are dead.
cats
are dead.
are dogs.
Yeah, do that.
Okay, what's next? So,
Do some dogs are dead.
Well, we have to do one from each.
No,
so that
we
would be
don't, we
all.
We did
no,
not.
no, oh,
Oh, some cats are not mean. No, some dogs.
The other one had-
some dogs,
Some cats are not
I don't know if.
some,
No
oh, that's
cats
true.
are
Some
furry. Say some cats are not
Cat.
furry because they don't have hair.
But no cats are dogs.
Hey,
Yeah,
Seriously?
Yeah, we did that one too.
No dogs.
Okay, and then
We're doing no, I
so
said
it's
no
fine.
cats are
okay,
good
I
for
agree.
Did you write it down?
Some cats
Except
are
for
not
you
furry.
all guys.
I don't think I said
No, yeah, that's
furry
good. You're right.
correctly.
No.
Yeah, I did.
U-R-R-Y.
Oh, I did spell it right. Hey.
How do you think it was spelled?
You've never fed your
Like
cat
that.
well?
But then
No, how were you gonna
F-E-R-R-Y. Furry.
I know, but how, you said I think I spelled that wrong and you were erasing it. How do you think it was spelled?
Some dogs.
Well, I thought I spelled it wrong, but I
Oh,
didn't.
God.
Because it sounded just weird.
Oh, God.
All
Or
the.
God.
Okay, so
No,
let's do the
well,
challenge.
some dogs are not dead.
Oh, what's the
If you take out your week 3, I should look at that too.
Oh,
Mr.
yeah.
Nicholson, what's the challenge?
Okay.
So think up an individual that you would assume is A, and an individual that you would assume is B. Like Socrates, the man, or something like that.
Okay.
Some dogs.
And I think.
Okay.
A and I.
Okay, so all men
Some
are
dogs
girls,
are
some
not
men
dead.
are.
I guess you could also do that with the negative.
Wait, so then what was
So you have
the
to come up with something to
particular?
say.
What is the
And then anyone
No,
just
no, two different.
something like.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, okay.
Do a simple. Oh gosh, I'm so confused. Do y'all guys know the challenge?
Oh, she said do like a singular thing. It's like what particular thing, like Socrates. So you
Thank you. What? Sorry, I was thinking.
so this
Did you
water
get it?
bottle
No?
is full. Tall.
How do you know?
Yeah, you
Because I was there.
You got the help me here. John.
Okay, so
Dog.
we're gonna get singular there.
Arrow is
I'm doing mine on Daniel now.
Alright,
Arrow
is it Daniel? All new arrow.
Arrow is an FSC
Okay.
fan. FSC fans are all sad.
Well,
I don't really care.
we are sad because our team
So-
always loses.
That's true.
All I know is
Bro,
that
we are so good first half.
Yeah, so
We're like
bad.
top 10 team first half, and second half we're like,
what
Okay.
is football?
We do not
we have no idea how to play second half.
Yeah, that's true.
We're a first half.
We used to be a class second half team.
We used to be a third half team.
I'll check your chat.
We did a singular.
Oh, actually, so bad when they become.
Like when we played
The
Clemson.
first time being hurt
I
that
know,
was
so
it.
No, we get killed by those.
Exactly.
We used to be third
There
half.
is no third half. We never show up.
We used to have like a 10-game streak when we were
Oh yeah, what's it called? When Clemson beat us for the first time after our like national championship, we had a like 30-game streak going, and then we lost to Clemson. And that's when we first started going back.
Okay.
And
No, we
now-
lost
And now we're losing to.
no, we lost to Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
Good job, everyone.
And now we're losing to teams like Georgia Tech.
So we have 1 minute left.
Yeah.
Let's hear some A's, E's, I's, and O's. Or should we do the individual ones
All
first?
dogs are dead.
Okay, all dogs are dead. Give me an I. Someone else.
Some cats are mean.
Some cats are mean. Good. Just shout it out. Give me an E.
No cats are good for anything.
Good. No cats are, and that's a long one, but it works.
Okay,
You know,
sure.
good for anything. That all is a good predicate. Give me an O.
Oh, I knew that.
Are they
Some
over?
dogs are not
Yeah.
alive.
Some dogs not alive. That's good.
Some
Some
cats are not.
conferences are not played.
That's good. And now give me an individual one. That would be an A.
I was thinking about the.
We have
this topic.
all three will die.
What's that?
I'm thinking about football.
die. It's a reference.
Oh, okay.
What?
Do you even have an individual one that would be read as an I?
Carry is the color carry.
FSU is.
Like some men go to the North Pole, basically, have gone to the North Pole? When you say mini pole.
Our football team is not.
Okay, so if you say our football team, that would be an A. Yeah, that works. Okay, take care, everyone. Good job. Thank you.
Our football team.
Oh, and next week is when we're going over 2 chapters, so be prepared to work harder next week.
Wait, what are we doing this week?
Chapter 5.
Five.
Yeah, he's doing 5 this week.
Florida State University.
But next week is 6 or 7.
Yeah, high school might be able to.